Hey, this is Daryl from the Jackson Fishing Team and Fly Tire Extra Nor. I don't know, but yeah, today's fly is our second dry fly out of the flies that we're tying for the upcoming end of the month South Carolina trout trip. So this one's gonna be a little bit more of a challenge for maybe for you to see and for me to see. We're gonna be tying an itsy bitsy tiny little blue dun dry fly, and I guess I'm gonna not put in the traditional feather tip wings that you would see on it. I'm gonna substitute some Z-Lon for the wing on that, and only because this is really a small fly, and you're gonna see that while I'm tying it. At any rate, let's take a look at the fly, and we'll get to tying. I'll explain the materials as I go along. Now, this is my little itsy bitsy little blue dun dry fly. Pretty small, but let's go ahead and get tying. The hook that I'm going to use is a Fasna F100 dry fly hook in a size 20. Supposedly barbless, so I'm not going to have to debarb it. And here you can see that really little tiny thing there. The thread I'm going to use some olive thread. And we're going to start that, and it's a 8/0. You could probably go smaller. And I'm going to use some Nature Spirits dry fly tailing in medium dun. And I got a piece right here. If I can pick it up. And what I'm going to do is just take some fibers off. Grab those by the tips and tear off the stem, and I still got some more there to do. Some more flies. And we're going to want this to be roughly about the length of the shank. And try to do a little pinch wrap here. It's a little long. That looks good there. Maybe a little long yet. And I pulled it too much. Try that again. That's better. this forward a little bit to lock it in. And we'll snip that off. Move my thread up a little bit. We're going to put in some Z-Lon. I'm using some done Z-Lon. You know, it's normally an indicator. You could probably use white to help you see it on the water. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to tie that little bit in there. And we want to make sure we've got some room for where we're going to put a hackle in front of that. Trim that off. And still got some left. Now if you want, you could go ahead and prop this up now, but I'm going to prop it up when I put on some dubbing to help with the dubbing on there. And I'm going to be using some Semperfil Kapok dubbing. And I'm going to be using what's called the blue wing olive color right here. And this is a really high floatant material. And we don't want to use too much. I'm going to turn my fly upside down a little bit. After all, a little bit goes a long way. Take it up there, and I'm going to need a little bit more. On there. Next thing I'm going to use is some might not look like it in the camera, but it's kind of a done dyed grizzly. And I'm going to take my feathers more down in here. It's about the size of that hook. Looks alright. It might be a little long. So we call it a Catskills style. And I don't know if you can see that, but I removed some barbs from this side just so that hopefully it won't flare towards the back while I'm tying it in. And we're going to tie that in there. Trim that off without cutting our thread. and use some Hackle pliers. And what we're going to try to do is give it 3 turns in the back and 3 in the front. I think that's 3. Feel like this is slipping. Kind of pull that back, and I forgot to trim that, so we'll have to recover that here. I think I get one more, or at least a half of one. Maybe not. And while I'm at it, I might as well trim that, since I forgot to do that before. Grab this and snip that off. And then I'm going to give it a couple half hitches instead of whip finishing it. And that also helps push back those fibers a little bit instead of maybe trapping some. And my thread broke, but that's all right. And there we have it. See if I can focus that in a little bit better. A little itsy bitsy blue dun dry fly. Hopefully that'll catch some fish. And I don't know, it was a challenge for me. I'm guessing it was a challenge for you to watch me tie it as well. Alright. Alright. I mentioned before I put them in this hydro stop, my little flies, my dry flies, and that for 15 minutes, and I take them out, and that helps make them float a little bit longer, and then I can use the loon dust or whatever to dry them off while I'm on the water. You don't want to really do this before you go on the water. You got to let them dry for 24 hours and on there. But tie up some of those size 20 if you're coming on our trip, and if not, tie them up anyway. Give them a try, and if you can tie them up. Maybe an 18, 16 if you wanted to tie them, but when you start getting a little bigger, you can maybe get a little fancier with the wings than what I did. Alright, I'm Daryl. We'll see you on the water, and good luck fishing this spring.